Greetings, Algo artisans. Does Tucker Carlson like cryptocurrency?
And we're not quite sure. We're still trying to kind of figure out. We may never know.
Is Tucker bullish on Bitcoin? Well, it's maybe a mixed bag. We're going to talk about that right now. Before we get into this, please like, subscribe, follow me on YouTube, follow me on X, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff gets us more content out to you. Okay, so we're going to start by going back into history a little bit because Tucker's preeminent conversation about Bitcoin happened in response to the Canada convoy protest. And we're not going to talk too much about that because of certain issues, but very long story short, there was an issue where truckers in Canada and the US were not allowed to go back and forth over the border unless they conformed with a certain mandate. We're not going to talk about what that was. Probably see it on the screen. Long story short, there were some truckers that were not happy about that, and there was a protest, and that protest was being funded by, I think it was GoFundMe, and then there was a situation where all of the bank accounts that were involved, or a lot of them, were sanctioned. They were sanctioned. They were, I think they were like frozen. You can actually see it here. This is on Wikipedia that talks about it. And long story short, this was a big deal. People were arrested, and there were some people who, maybe got a little bit violent, although there are those who think those people were plants. And so long story short, like I said, we don't want to go too far into it, but the ability to fund these truckers in their protest was made unavailable because people were using regular banking. And the idea might be that people move over to Bitcoin because Bitcoin is something that really in its current form cannot be stopped when it comes to transaction. Now, the history of this actually ended a couple of weeks ago. There's an article here over on CBC. It says Ottawa's use of Emergencies Act against convoy protests was unreasonable, violated charter court rules. So just to kind of round that bit of the story out, the government says it plans to appeal the decision, but the court actually has said, or at least a judge has said, that this violated their charter. The government did not have, I think the term is unconstitutional. Let's see what it actually says. A federal judge said the Liberal government's use of the Emergencies Act in early 2022 to declare convoy protesters was unreasonable and infringed on protesters' charter rights. In what's already turning into a divisive decision, Federal Court Justice Richard Mosley wrote that while the protest reflected an unacceptable breakdown of public order, the invocation of the Emergencies Act does not bear the hallmarks of reasonableness, justification, transparency, and intelligibility. Ultimately, there was no national emergency justifying the invocation of the Emergency Act, he wrote. So again, the government will appeal, and we'll see how that turns out. Canada has their way of doing things, and I'm not going to criticize it except to say that I'm just glad that I'm not up there. Okay, so let's move on to how this actually came out in the news regarding Tucker Carlson and cryptocurrency. And this is a Bitcoinist article from back in 2022. Now, mind you, this federal judge decision was last week. This is very recent round out of that story, which makes this relatively relevant. However, 2 years ago, Tucker actually had a say with regard to Bitcoin and its ability to fund these truckers when the banking system was commandeered. And I'm using that term loosely and politely. According to this article, the Bitcoin for Truckers campaign made it on Tucker Carlson Tonight, controversial and conservative TV host show on Fox News. The most important thing, though, is that Bitcoin's value proposition shined bright in the mirror center of his speech. Say what you will about Tucker Carlson, but this is the kind of advertising money cannot buy. The question is why Bitcoin is important for the world. Whether your political leaning is, whatever your political leaning is, this is Tucker Carlson's speech has the answer. We're going to listen to him in a few minutes here. I actually have Twitter, now X, ready to go. But it says here, podcast and Bitcoin thought leader Marty Bent accompanies the video with a simple explanation. The more those in power limit freedom of expression and association via the restriction of ability to transact, the more obvious it becomes that Bitcoin is the solution. A Twitter, now X, user that goes by Terry Van Loon responded, after over a year trying to figure out the significance of Bitcoin, this weekend, Come Fraud Me turned the light switch on for me. Like thousands of others, I have seen the light. I think they're talking about GoFundMe and being funny here because GoFundMe was shut off for the truckers, right? What did Tucker Carlson say about Bitcoin? Let's go ahead and move over to the Twitter post so we can hear him say it.
So in the absence of GoFundMe doing what it's supposed to do, others are filling the gap. An alternative crowdfunding website called Give, Send, Go has stepped up and raised already more than $5 million for the truckers. How long till they try to shut that down too? Some Canadians are clearly worried about that. They're turning to cryptocurrency. Tallycoin, for example, is a small crowdfunding service that uses Bitcoin. It's not controlled by banks. That's the point. They're hosting a fundraiser for the truck. Now, why is this appealing? No one can steal the money. No government can pressure anyone to turn the money over because governments don't control crypto. Bitcoin goes from person A to person B, and all the intermediary does, the company, is connect the two. It's pretty appealing. And you can imagine the long-term consequences here. If the people in charge in this country and in Canada want to make the US dollar irrelevant, they'll keep acting like this, and soon that it will be. Either way, it's becoming very clear that the only way around the stranglehold that technology has on our human rights is decentralization.
That's what he finishes by saying. So we are looking at Tucker obviously very well supporting Bitcoin. Now let's move on to a different article where it might be that he is talking not so positively about Bitcoin. This is a year later, roughly January 18th, 2023, and this is on Investor Place. That's the online publication that puts this article out, and it says Tucker Carlson's crypto crime conspiracy theory is nothing but a red herring. Tucker Carlson is making up crypto villains, and it's distracting from the real issues. It says here that Carlson has put together a theory linking recent airline industry issues to the rise in Bitcoin prices. The claim is easily debunked, but evidences a larger issue of commentators distracting from bigger issues plaguing the market. Long story short here is that I believe there was an issue with the FAA's computer system, and I believe it was a ransomware, and then Bitcoin was needed to pay for that. Now, a lot of people think this might have been a conspiracy because the people actually had, I think it was like a Coinbase account. It wasn't their own wallet where that Bitcoin had to go, so it was extremely easy to identify who these people were. The story I just told is probably 80 or 90% true. Whatever wallet they used allowed the authorities to identify them. So it kind of seems to me like, I mean, if you're going to have a ransomware on the FAA, you would be smart enough not to use that, which kind of just points to the fact that this is all a fake story to begin with. But Tucker does say here, he lays out a theory linking Bitcoin to the recent failures of the airline industry, saying that it's because Bitcoin broke above 20,000. Right here it says, Carlson draws attention to the increased Bitcoin prices back above 21,000, occurring just as the stoppage ended. He posits that these gains are the result of the US government buying Bitcoin to pay a ransom. Look, I'm going to put it to you this way. Tucker Carlson, like everybody else, is a bit of a mixed bag, and he's allowed to have a large audience, which tells me that he probably also has a script. I know everybody wants to talk about how he's gone, he's talked to Putin, he's done this, he's done that, look, I like the things he's saying, I like everything he says, but he has an audience of millions and millions of people, and in this current reality, this world, whenever you have an audience that big, I am of the opinion that you are definitely controlled. Like, I think he is controlled opposition. I like him as controlled opposition, but I think he is controlled opposition. So for him to come out and have a story like this, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty weak story to say he doesn't like Bitcoin. I'd say his message on the prior story with the Canadian truckers is a lot stronger of a case to say that he is pro-Bitcoin. I'd say in the modern environment, he probably is pro-Bitcoin. I think that back in 2023, he may have just wanted to sell a story. I don't know. Who knows what's going on behind the eyes of anybody, right? However, if I were to give him a rating, I would say he is pro-crypto, or at least that's going to be the message he puts out. So I hope this was interesting. If you want to come over to www.algofactory.tech, please check us out. We can help you learn how to trade these markets, how to build a trading plan that can help you extract money from the markets on a regular basis. It's not investment advice. You have to build it yourself. Nothing is guaranteed. Please talk to your licensed investment advisor before putting your money on the markets, because you can lose your money. In the meantime, like I said, it's www.algofactory.tech. Upgrade your life, trade your job. Do those two things in the reverse order, and we'll see you over there. All right, hope you enjoyed the show. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. On the screen there, you can see our website, algofactory.tech. Tap that QR code to take you straight there. I'm also very active on X. That's algo_factory777. We got TikTok and Rumble. In the meantime, we hope to see you over at the website. Come on over, trade your job, upgrade your life. We'll see you there.